Close your eyes for a moment and picture a photograph. It's May 26th, 1937. The image is black and white, grainy at the edges, like something you'd find in an old box in the attic. In the center of the frame stand 5 men on a concrete pedestrian bridge. They're dressed in their Sunday best, pressed suits, polished shoes, hats tilted just right. They're smiling, relaxed, almost proud. Behind them, looming over the scene, is a massive Ford Motor Company sign. It looks harmless, like a group photo, like nothing important is about to happen. Then you see the next photograph. The smiles are gone. Suits are torn. Coats are pulled up over heads. Bodies are being thrown down concrete stairs. Faces twist mid-impact. This isn't a scuffle. It's a mauling. History calls it the Battle of the Overpass. But what you're really seeing isn't just violence. You're watching 2 incompatible ideas of America collide, captured in a fraction of a second. To understand how it happened, you have to understand the kingdom it happened in. The River Rouge complex, known simply as the Rouge, wasn't really a factory. It was an industrial city. 93 buildings, 16 million square feet, its own power plant, its own docks, its own hospital. Inside, it ran more than 100 miles of railroad track inside the factory, like arteries. Raw iron ore arrived at one end by ship. Less than 2 days later, a finished car rolled out the other. Henry Ford called this continuous flow. No pauses, no unpredictability, no wasted motion. It was efficiency, elevated to ideology. But there was one variable Ford couldn't engineer away: people. Human beings got tired. They got sick. They spoke different languages. They had families, habits, beliefs. They were messy. And messiness was friction. So Ford decided to engineer the workers too. The myth everyone learns is the $5 day, Ford doubling wages out of generosity, lifting workers into the middle class. But the truth begins with a number that rarely makes it into textbooks. In 1913, Ford's annual turnover rate was 370%. To keep 14,000 jobs filled, the company had to hire more than 50,000 men a year. Workers fled the assembly line. It was relentless, punishing, soul-crushing. So the $5 day wasn't charity. It was a solution, a golden handcuff. But you didn't automatically get $5. Your base pay was about half. The rest was profit sharing, and profit sharing was conditional. To decide if you deserved it, Ford created something chillingly precise: the sociological department. Investigators showed up at workers' homes without warning. They didn't inspect machines, they inspected lives. Was your house clean? Were you legally married? Did you drink? Gamble? How did you spend your money? Did you speak English? The company didn't just want your labor for 8 hours a day. It wanted to shape who you were for the other 16. Ford said it openly. They were makers of men. Nowhere was that clearer than at the Ford English School. At graduation, immigrant workers climbed onto a stage wearing traditional clothing from their home countries. In the center stood a massive wooden cauldron labeled the melting pot. They stepped inside. Teachers stirred the pot with oversized ladles. Then the workers emerged on the other side wearing identical American suits, waving small flags, smiling for the camera. It wasn't symbolism. It was a mission statement. Just as car parts needed to be interchangeable, Ford believed workers needed to be interchangeable too. Cultural difference wasn't diversity, it was inefficiency. For a while, people accepted the deal. The money was real. The promise was real. Until the money stopped. The Great Depression crushed Detroit. Car sales collapsed. Layoffs exploded. Hunger spread. And the benevolent mask fell away. The clipboards disappeared. In their place came something simpler and far more terrifying. Harry Bennett. Bennett was everything Henry Ford wasn't. Short, violent, an ex-Navy boxer. He didn't know how to build cars. He knew how to hurt people. Legend says Ford asked him one question during his interview. "Can you shoot?" Bennett said yes. He got the job. Bennett built a private army inside the company, thousands of men strong. Ex-convicts, professional fighters, gangsters. Fear became management. Spies filled the factory floor. Names were recorded. Whispers were punished. Mention a union, and you might be fired, or beaten in the parking lot as a warning to everyone else. The first public proof of that terror came in March of 1932. Thousands of laid-off workers marched toward the Rouge in freezing weather. They were starving. They were unarmed. They asked for bread. At the Dearborn city limits, police and Bennett's men were waiting. Tear gas came first, then fire hoses blasting icy water, then machine guns. 5 men died. Detroit learned a hard truth. This company would kill to maintain control. 5 years later, the United Auto Workers turned their attention to Ford, the last fortress. They couldn't win a street fight, so they chose a different battlefield: public opinion. Their slogan was simple: unionism, not Fordism. They weren't just asking for better wages, they were challenging the idea that a company could own a human life. To prove it, they planned something legal, peaceful. They would hand out leaflets. They chose a pedestrian overpass near Gate 4 of the Rouge, public space, permits secured. And they invited the press. Cameras, they believed, would protect them. That belief is what makes the first photograph so haunting. They climb the stairs. The photographers ask them to pose. The men smile beneath the Ford sign, confident that daylight and decency will hold. Then the trap springs. Bennett's men swarm. They shout, "You're on Ford property," even though it isn't true. The words aren't meant to be true. They're meant to authorize what comes next. The beating is deliberate. One organizer has his coat pulled over his head and buttoned shut. He's kicked, thrown down the stairs, dragged back up, beaten again. It isn't just about pain. It's about humiliation. Women arriving to help are pulled off streetcars and beaten too. Violence spreads until the scene dissolves into chaos. Then Bennett makes a mistake. He forgets the audience. The cameras keep clicking. His men chase photographers, trying to smash equipment, trying to destroy the evidence. One photographer hides the exposed plates under his car seat and hands the attackers a box of blank film. They take it. The evidence survives. The next morning, the country wakes up to the photographs. Not rumors, not testimony, images. A man mid-fall, a face twisted in pain, bodies against concrete. Ford's carefully built myth collapses overnight. You can spin words. You can't spin a photograph. Public sympathy surges. The beating meant to crush unionism does the opposite. It saves it. The fight doesn't end that day, but the end begins. In 1941, Ford finally signs with the Union. And the real victory isn't just economic. The sociological department disappears. The private army is dismantled. Home inspections stop. A line is finally respected. You get my labor for the hours you pay for. When I clock out, my life is my own. The overpass still stands today, quiet, rebuilt, ordinary. Ford branding nearby. Union signs too. Side by side. A truce, carved into concrete. But the photographs leave us with a question that doesn't belong only to the past. We may not have men with clubs waiting in parking lots anymore, but many of us carry work in our pockets. Ratings, metrics, algorithms, surveillance, without fists. The machine still wants efficiency, and it still wants to erase the messy human variable. We are still that variable. Those men on the overpass took a beating to draw a line between work and life, between labor and ownership, between a wage and a soul. The only question left is the one history hands back to us. Where is that line now?